Buddhism, a non-religious religion. The religion of the Buddha is not a religion in the conventional sense because it lacks a system of beliefs, dogmas, and sacred texts. It does not believe in God, a soul, or any heaven. It does not require faith, yet still is a religion. It is a unique phenomenon in the history of human consciousness. No one can be compared to the Buddha. He said that God is merely a search for comfort, safety, and refuge. You believe in God not because He exists, but because you feel weak without that belief. Even if there were no God, you would create Him. That belief arises from your weakness. It is a projection. Humanity feels limited, powerless, as if victims of circumstances, not knowing where they came from, where they will go, and why they are here. Without God, it would be difficult for ordinary people to find meaning in life. They would become disoriented without the shadow of God. God is a crutch, a comfort, a protector. They tell themselves, "Don't worry." God, who is all-powerful and all-knowing, understands why you are here. He is the Creator. He knows why He created heaven and earth. You may not know, but He knows, so you can trust in Him. This helps you feel secure. The mere idea of God is enough to reassure you that you are not alone, that you are cared for, that the universe did not emerge from chaos, that everything is orderly. The ruler of the universe has taken care of everything, and even a hair on your head does not fall without His will. Everything is planned. You are part of a grand design. You may not know its meaning, but it must have a meaning because God exists. God helps you live happily. You can believe that life is not accidental, that there is a purpose, a goal. God helps you feel secure. But the Buddha said there is no God. That is evidence you don't know why you are here. It reflects your helplessness. It proves there is no inherent meaning. The idea of God is created to help us live through this meaningless life. Imagine you are sitting on a plane and someone says, "There is no pilot." Suddenly everyone panics. No pilot? Without a pilot, you are doomed. Then someone says, "This plane doesn't need a pilot because it is remotely controlled. Otherwise, how could it fly? Because everything is running smoothly, there must be a pilot." We may not see the pilot, we may not be blessed to see, perhaps our eyes are closed, but there must be a pilot. Otherwise, how could it fly? It is taken off, and it is flying smoothly, and the engine is running steadily. That is proof there is a pilot. If you are convinced like that, you will relax back in your seat. You close your eyes, let your mind wander into nothingness, and snore away. There is a pilot, so you don't have to worry anymore. The Buddha said there is no pilot. That is a human creation. Humanity created God in its own image. God is an invention, not a discovery. Therefore, God is not the truth, it is the greatest deception. That is why I say Buddhism is not a religion in the usual sense. Buddhism is a godless religion. Can you imagine that? When Western scholars first studied Buddhism, they were shocked that it is called a religion yet has no God. They only knew Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These religions in many respects are very immature compared to Buddhism. Buddhism is a mature religion. Buddhism is a religion of transcendent souls. Buddhism is not a religion for children, and it does not encourage any childish desires. Buddhism is very unkind. Let me repeat, there is no one more compassionate than the Buddha, but his path is very unkind. In fact, that unkindness reveals his compassion. He does not allow you to cling to any lies. No matter how comforting they may be, lies are still lies. Those who deceive you are not your friends, but your enemies. Because nourished by falsehoods, your life is filled with falsehoods. You must live in the atmosphere of truth. No matter how difficult, how bitter it may be, you must accept it. Even if persecuted for the truth, it is worth it. The Buddha said that human religions are human creations. You are governed by external objective circumstances. You need to accept the truth at all costs without trying to cover it up, not trying to polish it, not distorting it to suit your preferences. If it causes turmoil, disorder in you, be ready to face all consequences. If your self-esteem is hurt, be ready to die from that wound. If destroyed by the truth, be ready to be destroyed. The Buddha was very unkind, but he opened the profound and mysterious gate that no one else has succeeded in doing. He did not allow any of your ambitions. He said, "Be more conscious, be more awake, be more courageous. Do not hide behind any beliefs, dogmas, or doctrines. Take responsibility for yourself. Light the inner candle to see the true nature of all things, and when you have the courage to accept the truth, you are truly blessed. That is the first teaching of the Buddha. He taught that all belief systems are toxic. All faiths are barriers. He was neither a theist nor an atheist because, as he said, some believe in God, others do not, but both have faith. He did not believe in God, but he rejected all views of atheists. He said that their denial of God is like mosquitoes biting the leg of an elephant. If not mature enough, you will seek another idol to replace God. For example, Karl Marx declared that there is no God, but his history is full of all the concepts of God. What is needed is God. God is the decisive factor, the force behind all phenomena. God decides what will happen and what will not. Marx abandoned the idea of God, but history became the decisive factor. History became destiny. History governs everything. What is history? Marx said that communism is a historical necessity, and history has determined that communism will triumph, and everything has been arranged by history. Then history became a super god. Some figure or factor must decide. Man cannot live with direct reality. Man cannot accept a chaotic, accidental reality. Man cannot live with reality without relying on some idea to give it meaning, to make it appropriate and continuous so that reason can understand, analyze, and cause and effect can be distinguished. Freud abandoned the idea of God, but the unconscious became God. All human activities are determined by the unconscious. Humans are mere puppets in the hands of the unconscious. Those are new labels of God. They are modern myths. Freud's psychology is a new myth about God. Old wine in new bottles. The label has been changed, the old label has been removed, and a new one has been pasted to deceive the unsuspecting. But if you analyze Freud's psychology thoroughly, you will immediately recognize that the unconscious plays the role that God used to. So why is God needed? God must be created to determine something. History, economics, the unconscious, natural selection. If man cannot have freedom, changing myths and doctrines is useless. Whether you follow Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, it only differs in form. Your mind is still childish, still immature. You continuously seek the image of a father or some figure to explain everything, to be the ultimate answer. A mature soul does not seek whether there is an ultimate answer or not. That is why the Buddha said, "I am not a metaphysician." He has no metaphysics. Metaphysics means the ultimate answer to all questions. He never said, "I have explained the mystery." He never said, "Here, I have revealed the truth to you." He said, "The only thing I can do is encourage you, make you yearn, help you become alert, conscious, lively, so that you live a life fully conscious, flooded with light and awareness, to the extent that all questions disappear." It is not that you will find an ultimate answer to life. No one has done that. The Buddha completely rejected metaphysics. He said metaphysics is just a futile search. The first thing he did was deny God. Then he denied heaven. He said your heaven is merely unfulfilled desires, unaccomplished instincts, projected through the invisible through the afterlife. At this point, he was entirely correct. If you describe the heaven of Islam, Christianity, Judaism, you will immediately understand why he said that. What is unfulfilled in this life, you project it into the next. But whether this life or the next, those desires are no different. The Hindus say there are magical trees called kalpavriksha. If you sit under such a tree, whatever you wish will happen immediately. The West has only recently invented instant coffee. India thought of magical trees thousands of years ago, and everyone believed it. Sit under such a tree and your wishes will be fulfilled. If you dream of a fairy, she will appear. Want gourmet food? There it is. Nothing is impossible. Just a simple analysis reveals. Few are satisfied in life, and everyone spends a lifetime fulfilling their desires. How many are happy with what they achieve? So they project those desires into the future. By nature, desires cannot be satisfied, whether in the present or the future. The Buddha said, "The nature of desire is unsatisfiable. No matter what you do, you will not be content. That is the intrinsic nature of desire. Desire cannot be accomplished. Even if you sit under a magical tree, you will not be satisfied. Many times you are satisfied with what you dream of, but then you dream of other things. The cycle continues endlessly. The heavens of Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and Hinduism are just projected desires, unfulfilled desires, disappointed dreams. Of course, they comfort people a lot. If not satisfied here, you will be satisfied in heaven. Sooner or later, you will return to God. The only requirement is that you pray and trust in Him. Fear God, and your reward will be great after this life. The reward, of course, has to wait until the afterlife, because the deceitful priest cannot deceive you in this life. They know that desires cannot be satisfied, so they think of the afterlife. No one knows anything about the afterlife, so people are easily deceived. If someone tells you God will fulfill your desires right now and here, it will be hard to prove because no one has ever been satisfied right now and here. Then God will be unmasked. So they have to think of a clever plan. They say, after this life, why can't your Almighty God fulfill your desires right now? Can't your Almighty God create a magical tree right on this earth? Can't your God do anything when people are still alive? If He can't do anything now, what guarantees that He will do so in the afterlife? The Buddha said, look into the nature of desire. Observe its movement because it is very subtle. You will realize two things. 1, desire by nature cannot be satisfied. And 2, when you understand that desire cannot be satisfied, it will disappear and you will no longer crave. That is the state of peace, tranquility, and liberation. That is the state of satisfaction. Desire cannot be satisfied by desire. It can only be satisfied by going beyond satisfaction. Desire is a golden opportunity to understand the operation of the mind, how it works and its mechanism. And when you understand that, transformation will occur. Desire will disappear without a trace. And when there is no more desire, no more demands, you will be satisfied. Not that desire is satisfied, but when you transcend all desires, satisfaction arises on its own. Desire changes with time and circumstances. Religion says desire can be satisfied in heaven. Capitalists say desire can be satisfied in this life. Materialists say desire can be satisfied here. Just change the social structure, overthrow the capitalists so that the proletariat can lead. The bourgeoisie must be eliminated. That's it. If achieved, desires will be satisfied right here. Heaven can be established on this earth. Capitalists say, you can be satisfied if you try your best. The West is doing that. Struggle, compete, win by any means, gain more wealth, more power. That is what politicians everywhere are doing. If you want to be happy, the economy must develop, productivity must be high. That is what scientists say. They say just a little more technology and heaven will be established. And what does your religion say? They say nothing different. They say desire can be satisfied, but not in this life, in the next. That is a very small difference between materialists and hypocrites. To the Buddha, both are materialists. And to me, both are materialists. Hypocrites and atheists are the same. There is no difference. Their attitudes and approaches are identical. The Buddha said desire cannot be satisfied. He is holy in that sense. You must understand the nature of desire. It cannot be satisfied here or anywhere else. It has never happened and cannot happen because it contradicts the essence of desire. What is desire? Have you ever observed your greedy mind? Have you thought about it? What is desire? You want to buy a house, so you struggle to get it. You sacrifice your life for it. When you have the house, are you satisfied? When you have the house, suddenly you need many other things. Then you want a bigger house. You want to be loved, and when you are loved, you want someone else. That is the nature of desire. It always precedes you. Desire belongs to the future. Desire is hope. Desire cannot be satisfied because its nature is a projection into the future. It is always on the horizon that you cannot chase. Whenever you approach, it moves back, and the distance between it and you never changes. When you have 10,000, you want 20,000. When you have 20,000, you want 40,000. The distance never changes. Regardless of whether you have it or not, desire always lurks ahead. The Buddha said, abandon hope, eliminate desire. When there is no more hope and desire, you are thrown back to the present. When there is no more craving, you will be satisfied because you are no longer deceived by desire. So when the Buddha said there is no difference between hypocrites and materialists, and he angered the Brahmins, they had never been angry with anyone like that. They tried to eradicate his religion in India, and they succeeded. Buddhism originated in India but disappeared from India because Hinduism is one of the most materialistic religions in the world. Open the Vedas and you will immediately see. Prayers, rituals, sacrifices, all are requests and demands from one God to another. All rituals arise from desire. Grant more, grant more. Grant good harvests, favorable weather, prosperous work, good health, long life. The Vedas are nothing but exaggerated desires, sometimes very malicious. The Vedas are not just requests, but also curses on enemies, like, grant my cows more milk, and let that bastard's cows die or not give milk. What kind of religion is that? Even calling it a religion is absurd. If orthodoxy is like that, what will heresy be like? The Buddha studied with many teachers during his search for enlightenment, but each time he left empty-handed because he knew no one understood the nature of desire. Those people themselves still had many desires. Of course, their desires were projected far into the future, into the next life, but the object of desire was the same. The difference is just a matter of time. Some desire things in this life, some desire things in the next life. But what's the difference? There is no difference. They all have the same desires. Desire is desire. The Buddha studied with many teachers, but each time he was disappointed. He did not find a truly holy person, only hypocrites. They were people who tortured themselves. Some fasted for months, some stood for years, some never slept, and they became living skeletons. You would not say they were hypocrites or ordinary people. But if you look into their minds and ask, why fast? Why such effort? They would reply, to go to heaven, to ascend to paradise, to receive eternal rewards after death. That is desire. They all said the same. Everything is impermanent. This life is temporary. No matter what you get, eventually death takes everything away. So why struggle? This life will not last forever. So we want to find the eternal, the immortal. We want absolute satisfaction. Only fools seek wealth and honor in this life because eventually they end up empty-handed. No matter how much you do, you can't take it with you when you die. We want to find a treasure we can take with us that will not be lost, that even death cannot take away. Do you call these people holy? They seem even worse than ordinary people. They are more materialistic than materialists. Of course, they skillfully disguise their greed. Their greed seems transcendental, but very deceitful. It is like putting flowers on a pile of dung. Dung is dung. Flowers only deceive the ignorant. The Buddha was not deceived. He saw everything. He saw their greed. If there is still desire, you are worldly and materialistic. Therefore, he did not teach about heaven. He did not believe in any heaven. It is not that he did not believe in bliss, no. He believed in bliss, but that is not faith. When all heavens are lost, when all desires have disappeared, bliss explodes from your deepest core. It requires nothing, no virtues, no asceticism, no sacrifices. Just understanding is enough. And third, he did not believe in the soul, did not believe in God, did not believe in heaven. This seems difficult. We can accept that there is no God because no one has seen him. It is likely a projection. We can also accept that there is no heaven because it may be an unfulfilled wish, but no soul. Then there is no place to cling to. No soul. Then what is the purpose of human life? If there is no soul, if death is the end, then no matter how much effort you put in, it is futile. Why meditate? What is the use of praying? The Buddha said that the idea of self, of soul, has been misunderstood. You exist, but you do not have a self. You exist but are not separate from the universe. The separation is the basis of the concept of self. If I separate from you, I have a self. If you separate from me, you have a soul. The Buddha said, existence is one. There are no boundaries. No one is separate from anyone else. We live in an ocean of consciousness. We are one consciousness, but are deluded by the separation of the body, deceived by the boundaries of the mind. And because of the body and mind, and because of identification with the body and mind, we think we are separate. We think we are distinct selves. The ego arises accordingly. For example, looking at a map, you will see America, but on the ground, there is no America, only on the map of politicians. On the map, America and Africa are separate, but deep below, beneath the ocean, there is only one Earth. All continents are connected. They are one Earth. We are only separate on the surface. The deeper we go, the more the separation blurs. When we reach the core of our being, it suddenly becomes universal. There is no self, no soul. The Buddha had no belief in God, soul, or heaven. So what did he teach? He taught a way of life, not a belief. His method was very scientific, based on experience, practical. He was not a philosopher, not a metaphysician. He was a practical person. The Buddha said, "You can change your life without belief. Indeed, those beliefs are obstacles to change. The first step is to abandon belief, metaphysics, and doctrines. Start with zero, without philosophy, without ideology. Start with empty hands. That is the only way to reach the truth." I have heard that. A traveler opened a Bible placed by the Gideon Society in a hotel. On the first page was printed, "If you are sick, read Psalm 18. If your family is in discord, read Psalm 45. If you are lonely, read Psalm 92. He felt lonely, so he opened Psalm 92 and read. When he finished, he saw below it was written, "If you still feel lonely, call 888-1234 and ask for Nani." If you read your scriptures carefully, you will find the footnotes more attractive. Sometimes they are not very clear, but if you pay attention, you will find them. The footnotes are more appropriate. The Buddha said all your scriptures are just desires, instincts, greed, lust, anger. They are just creations of your mind, so they must bear the marks of the mind. Scriptures are human creations. Therefore, religions try to prove that their scriptures are not human creations. Christians say that God is the author of the Bible. The 10 Commandments were given directly by God to Moses. The New Testament is a direct message from the second person of the Trinity, the only Son of God. It is not a human creation. It was revealed by God. Hindus also say the Vedas are not human creations. And the story goes on. Muslims say the Quran was recited by God to Muhammad. Why do religions say their scriptures are divine, while those of other religions are not? Muslims do not accept the Vedas as divine, nor do Hindus accept the Quran. Why? Because they know that anything created by humans bears the marks of the mind, of desires. The Buddha said all scriptures are human creations. He was not a fanatic. He did not belong to any nation, race, religion, or faction. He was just his own light, and what he spoke were the purest messages of truth. A friend sent me a very interesting story. Irish believers asked their religious leader to choose a place for his tomb. At that time, the Holy War was ongoing, and he could be killed at any time. 3 locations were proposed, and he chose the cheapest one, against the council's wishes. Asked why he chose such a modest place instead of the other 2 scenic spots, he replied, "My dear friends, I greatly appreciate your generosity, but I will not be there for more than 3 days, so isn't it wasteful?" Such crazy ideas will not be found in the Buddha. He would hesitate. Another who would hesitate like that is Lao Tzu. Only these 2 would hesitate. Sometimes, because of hesitation, they do not make a good impression on you. Because of confusion, you need someone absolutely confident to believe in. Therefore, you are often attracted to fanatics. They have nothing to say, but by banging the table, by shouting loudly, they give you the impression that they know. Otherwise, why are they so assertive? Some religions are so assertive that they create a sense of certainty. And confused people need certainty. When you meet a Buddha, you may not pay much attention because he is not as assertive. He does not make loud declarations. He knows more than anyone. He knows that life cannot be summarized in a statement, and any statement is trivial. No statement can fully contain the truth, so on what basis can he be assertive? He knows everything is relative. Buddha and Mahavir are the 2 most famous teachers in India. They understood the law of relativity. Einstein discovered it only recently. Einstein brought relativity into science. Before that, science was very certain, fanatically certain, absolutely certain. Science has become more humble, more honest. Buddha and Mahavira did that in India. They brought relativity into religion by saying that truth cannot be fully expressed, that we cannot assert absolutely, that at most we can only suggest. That suggestion must be indirect, it cannot be direct. We cannot point directly because it is too vast, too immense. So the one who has attained the way must hesitate naturally. That hesitation is proof of the highest alertness. Stupid people are often fanatical. The more stupid, the more fanatical. That is one of humanity's sad things. Fools are assertive, and those who know hesitate. The Buddha also hesitated. So if you want to understand him, you must be alert and open to his words. He does not impart the truth to you on a grand scale. He only guides, suggests, and that is already very difficult. I have said that the Buddha was very practical. He rarely talked about metaphysical issues. He did not beat around the bush but went straight to the point. The simpler, the better. Sometimes his words do not seem profound, but if understood, they are incredibly profound. He never beats around the bush, never shows off. I have heard that. She was just 20. He was a rising star in a famous company. Everyone thought they were a perfect match. But who would have thought the problem was about intimacy? The honeymoon had not yet begun, and she already complained to her friends. As an advertising expert, he sat by the bed every night talking about how beautiful it would be. But it never happened. The Buddha did not need to prepare. He never advertised what he was going to say. He said what needed to be said and then moved on. He said, driven by selfish desires, people chase after fame and wealth. But when they have it, they have wasted many years. If obsessed with worldly fame and forget the path, you have gone astray and your effort is in vain. It is like burning incense. No matter how fragrant it is, it will be burned by its own fire. A very simple and practical teaching. Driven by selfish desires, people chase after fame and wealth. What is a selfish desire? In Buddhist terminology, a selfish desire is a desire for oneself. But in common language, we say a desire is selfish if it harms others and you do not care about others. Even if it harms others, you do everything to satisfy that desire. You are called selfish if you do not care about others, only yourself. But when the Buddha said a desire is selfish, he meant something different. He said if a desire is based on the idea of a soul, it is selfish. For example, if you donate $1 million to build a hospital, a school, or provide food and medicine for the poor, no one would call you selfish. The Buddha said it is selfish if it has the motivation of the soul. If you think that giving a lot of money like that will bring you merit and rewards in heaven, that is a selfish desire. It does not harm anyone. In fact, you are grateful to everyone. You will be seen as a benefactor, a virtuous, holy person, full of compassion. But the Buddha would say the only criterion to judge if that desire is selfish or not is its motive. If you give without any motive, it is not selfish. If there is a motive behind it, whether you are aware or not that you will be greatly rewarded in this life or the next, it is selfish. Anything driven by the ego is selfish. If it is driven by the ego, it is selfish. If you meditate to achieve enlightenment, that is a selfish desire. The Buddha often told his disciples, whenever you meditate, after meditating, give back what you have received. Give it back to the universe. If you feel blissful, direct it to the universe and do not keep it as a treasure. If you feel happy, share it immediately. Do not cling to it. Otherwise, your meditation is just an act of the ego. The ultimate goal of meditation is to abandon the self, the ego. It is the disappearance of the self. The Buddha said, driven by selfish desires, people chase after fame and wealth. But when they have it, they have wasted many years. You may have fame, reputation, power, and be respected by everyone. But what are you doing? Are you aware of what you are doing? You have missed the opportunity to chase after absolutely useless things. You are collecting rubbish, and you are wasting your time and energy. He said if obsessed with worldly fame and forget the path. He called his path the way, the Dharma. He said do not worry about the result because the result will happen on its own. You only need to follow the open path. You do not even need a reason to seek the result. The joy of meditating, praying, giving is enough. You practice the path because you enjoy it, not because you gain merit, and do not turn it into a commercial service. Time flies like a white horse's shadow. Each moment that passes will never return. The Buddha said, do not waste time on foolish things. Fame is foolish, meaningless. Even if the whole world knows you, it does not make you richer. How can it make you happy? How can it help you become more intelligent, more alert, more conscious, more alive? Because you do not cultivate yourself, he said, you have gone astray and your effort is in vain. It is like burning incense. No matter how fragrant it is, it will be burned by its own fire. Life is like that. Every minute that passes is burned. You are always on the pyre because each moment death is closer, and each minute you are less alive. So before this opportunity passes, the Buddha said, reach the state of no self. Then there will be no death, there will be no suffering. If you achieve that, you will not need fame, power, reputation. In fact, the emptier you are inside, the more you chase after fame because it helps you fill that emptiness. The more lacking you are inside, the more you chase after wealth because it helps you forget that poverty. I often see that when people lack love, they eat like pigs. Whenever they quarrel with their lover, whenever they are not loved or cannot love, they eat all day, not knowing if it is delicious or not. Why? Why do they have to eat? Because they feel lonely, and that emptiness scares them. If you are happy inside, you will not care about fame. Only unhappy people seek wealth. If you know who you are, why do you need others to know you? But if you do not know who you are, you will want everyone to know you. You will collect the opinions of others, what they think of you. And through those opinions, you will have a distinct characteristic. Yes, that is me. People say I am smart, so I must be smart. You are not sure. And if you know clearly, why do you need the opinions of others? When looking into others' eyes, you see your face in them. You do not see your face. So you ask, please tell me who I am. Tell me that I am beautiful, that I am charming, that I have grace. Do you recognize your begging? Tell me about my body, my mind, my understanding. Please give me a few words. You will grab others' opinions. If the opinion is not good, you will get angry. That person tarnishes your beautiful image if they think poorly of you. If the opinion is good, that person helps you embellish that image, and you feel more proud. You will be happy when someone applauds. Why? Because you do not know who you are, so you must seek. You ask others, who am I? Tell me. Accordingly, you rely on others. Ironically, they do not know who they are either. Beggars seek each other for alms. They also seek you for alms. It is a mutual deception. A man meets a woman and says, "You are so beautiful, so charming," and she responds, "I have never met a man as handsome as you." It is mutual deception. They might call it love, but it is just mutual deception. Both want a certain characteristic and both satisfy each other. Everything will be fine until one of them gets bored and does not want to play that deceptive game anymore. Then the honeymoon is over, and they talk about marriage. Then things are not as harmonious. The husband thinks, "I must have been enchanted." The wife thinks, "He tricked me." No one tricks you unless you are ready to be tricked. No one tricks anyone unless they are ready to be tricked, waiting to be tricked. You cannot deceive someone who knows who they are. They will laugh at your opinion. They will say, "Do not waste time in vain. I already know who I am. Say what you want. Please do not worry about me. I already know who I am." When your inner self is abundant, you will not chase after luxury, not pursue power. Psychologists find that when people feel powerless, they seek symbols of desire to compensate. When feeling powerless, someone wants the most beautiful car to compensate for that powerlessness. He wants the most beautiful car in the world. His power is gone. His masculinity is lost, so he wants to replace it with something else. He will feel delighted when the car speeds like flying, as if in the embrace of a lover. Speed gives him strength. He will identify with the car. Psychologists have observed this phenomenon for many years, that people with inferiority complexes always have great ambitions. Indeed, no one throws themselves into politics unless they have many inferiority complexes. Politicians generally are people with complexes. They want to prove their superiority, otherwise they cannot live with that sense of inferiority. What I want to say here is that what is lacking inside, you will collect external things to compensate. If your inner self is not lacking, you will relax in your bliss. Being so, you will see your beauty. Only then will you know who you are. The Buddha said, "People cling to worldly possessions and selfish passions so blindly that they sacrifice their entire lives for them. They are like children licking honey on a knife blade. The honey cannot satisfy them, but their tongues can be cut by the knife." Your desires cannot be satisfied in this life. It is a world of illusions. Nothing can satisfy, because only reality can satisfy you. Don't you see? When you dream, you open the fridge and eat to your fill. Of course, the beauty of it is that it does not disturb your sleep. Otherwise, an empty stomach would not let you sleep peacefully. The dream compensates for what you lack and helps you sleep. You feel, "I am full." You have deceived your body. A dream is a deceiver. When you wake up, you still feel hungry because a feast and sleep is the same as fasting. A feast and fasting are both dreams because a dream is not real. It cannot satisfy you. To quench your thirst, you need real water. Only reality can satisfy you. The Buddha said you always create opportunities to harm yourself, but you cannot be satisfied in this life. Sometimes you may taste a few drops of honey, sweet but dangerous and unsatisfying. And those drops of honey are smeared on a knife blade, your tongue can be cut. Look at the elderly, you will see them full of wounds. Their being is only wounds and sores. When a person dies, you do not see a smile in their being, only wounds that have rotted. If a person has lived without being deceived by dreams and false desires, the longer they live, the more innocent they become. When they die, they become even more beautiful. Sometimes you meet an old person who is more beautiful in old age than in youth. Bow to that person. They have lived truly an inner life full of abundance. Because if you live truly, each day you become more splendid, and the light will come to you with full grace. An aura will appear around you, and you become a temple of the ultimate, the eternal. Theory and practice must be so because life is an evolution. If you are no longer young and become ugly, it proves you have licked honey on many knife blades. You have been wounded many times. Old age becomes a prolonged suffering, and few close their eyes peacefully because few people truly live. If a person lives truly, as if a candle burns from both ends, their death will be a great phenomenon, a beauty of utmost magnificence. You will see their life shining brightest when they die. At the moment of death, they become an intense flame. All their essence concentrates in that moment. A source of light emanates from their being. Before departing forever, they leave a mark for life. That happened when the Buddha entered nirvana. It also happened with Mahavira when he left this life. We cannot forget them, not because they had power, they were nobody, but we cannot forget them. Speaking of history, they did nothing. Nearly we can remove them from history. We can erase their names from history without losing anything. Indeed, they did not exist for written history. They stood on the sidelines of history, but we cannot forget them. Their final moment left a brilliance for humanity. Their final glow showed us our infinite possibilities. The Buddha repeatedly told his disciples, "Ehi passiko, come and see." They were scientific-minded. Buddhism is the most scientifically compatible religion in the world. Therefore, Buddhism is increasingly embraced by many people. As humanity becomes more intelligent, the Buddha will become even more important. It must be so. As more people know about science, he will become more attractive to them because he suits scientific minds. He often said, "What I say can be practiced, and I do not say, believe like that, but I say, experiment with what I say, experience it rather than believe it. Besides, there is nothing to believe." Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who might benefit from it. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button, follow, and turn on the notification bell. This is how you can show your support for me. Once again, thank you very much, and see you in the next videos.